Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a new webinar organized by the HSBooster project. My name is Maria Giuffrida from Trasetti and Compla, who are the coordinators of this project, and I'm very glad to welcome you to this event, which is actually the third of a series of three workshops, webinars that we have organized around the topic of AI standardization, focusing on the challenges and opportunities for research projects and companies involved in research projects mostly. So just a couple of announcements on my side. This event, like the other two that came before it, is being recorded and it will be made available on our website and other channels in the next few days, including the presentations of each speaker. So you can catch up also later with the information we'll provide. We will have some speakers I will present in a moment, but then we'll also have a discussion session during the event. But please do not wait for that session to ask any question you may have. You can use the chat or the Q&A box for this purpose. We will also use an interactive tool, Slido, later on to collect some more feedback from you. Also in the chat, we will put various links, and references on the information that we present for your further reference. So this is our third event. It's focused on still AI and emerging technologies, but what we will, focus more and what we'll hear by our presenters is also the perspective of the SMEs, the challenges they face, and also, the solutions that are available for them in terms of AI standardization. This is our agenda for the day. The event will last an hour and a half. After this brief introduction, we will have three guest speakers, Olivier Blais, Emilia Tantar, Rania Wazir, that will present, their experience inside the technical committees related to AI. And last, we will have Cédric Guy-Payet from the perspective of a project, Kinetics, who's received already the HSBooster service and also will comment on the experience with the HSBooster initiative. Then we'll have a panel discussion moderated by our two main co-organizers of this series of events, Isabel Caetano, chair of the Technical Committee for AI in the Portuguese standards body, and Farshid Amir Abdollahian from the University of Hertfordshire. And then we will conclude at 12:30, as I said. So, sorry, that's all for my introduction. I will stop sharing my screen now and leave immediately the floor to Olivier as a first speaker to start with the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. So I'll share my screen. My name is Oliver. Thank you for having me. And sorry, I might be a little bit late to talk. It's a little bit early in the morning. It's 5 in the morning here in Canada. Like I said, my name is Olivier Blais. I'm co-founder of and CTO of Mubai, a startup in AI consulting based in Montreal, Canada. I'm also the chair of the Canadian Mirror Committee of ISO/IEC for SC42 for artificial intelligence. And today I'm here to talk about. I think it's really related to the topic of today's session. But I'm here to talk about ways to standardize and especially how can small and medium-sized enterprise understand how to standardize using ISO/IEC 42001. So what does it mean? What can we do? What are the different tools? So I'm not here to provide necessarily all the answers, but I'm here to talk a little bit about my journey and also what different solutions are there. And also, I'm here to talk about a project that I'm currently working on. It's still ongoing, so it's not available right now. But we're currently working on a practical guide that will guide these type of companies. So I'm here to talk about this. So I'll start with my journey. Why how did I go from an AI startup founder to a secret 2 expert, and ultimately the chair of the Canadian Mirror Committee, or the Canadian delegation of ISO-IC. It's because, and I started my journey. So Move AI, for instance, started 6 years ago, and I've been doing AI projects since about 15 years. And what I realized is along the different solutions. So every time I was building a solution, I realized how reliant on the experts you were. There were not a lot of best practices. There were not a lot of rules, a lot of expectation from people. We're expecting quite a lot on the data scientists uh, at the times, and I felt like it was so ad hoc. It was so it was so easy to have reliability issues with AI systems, and there had to be a better way. And I was seeking uh, ways that we could get higher quality AI system. How can we make sure an AI system works better, is safer, is more reliable? And this is why I decided to act. And in my search, I found that ISO-IC was a great solution because it provided a very comprehensive toolbox for organizations. And there was something, it was called so ISO-IC provided these type of tools for artificial intelligence. It was just very early at the time. It still is. A lot of people still has not heard of ISO-IC, especially for artificial intelligence, but it's just a matter of time. Okay. So when I started to be involved, first of all, I didn't know what was ISO-IC at all, because I was, founder of a very small startup. And I feel like in Canada, it's maybe a little bit less of a standardization culture, but I was very happy to learn that about all the effort that were ongoing. So first, what I'll say is what's ISO and IEC for people. So first of all, ISO is the International Organization for Standardization, and first of all, it's international, so it has uh, so it has a very global view. So it's important to meet global needs. It's important to have a consensus, and to hear all the opinion from everybody, to make sure that we are considering everybody when we're taking decision. And also, it's everywhere. You can see sometimes if you go in manufacturing districts, you can see big buildings, ISO 42001, for instance. So it's in manufacturing, it's in nowadays it's a lot in cybersecurity with ISO IC 27001, 27771. So there is a lot of there is a lot of standard that make sure that everything that we touch, everything that we have, is somehow certified by ISO. Okay, our companies get certified by ISO to make sure that we are having a better product, more standard experience, and that's essentially what interested me at first. We here where I'm currently talking about ISO, but also here I can talk about IC. I won't necessarily spend a lot of time, but it's pretty similar. It's just another organization. It's the International Electrotechnical Commission, and they have essentially the same type of vision. So they're also everywhere. They want to make the world a more safer and more efficient world, and they're focusing on pretty much the same thing. So that's why here they decided to work together and create a collaboration for standards creation. Okay, they are part of international standardization efforts, and something else that's interesting. So I will talk to you a lot about standardization as a tool. And I think it's especially true for small and medium businesses, because sometimes you'll talk about certification, and a certification takes a lot of time. Certification is very costly. And sometimes for startups and small and medium businesses, this might not be what people are looking for. But standardization is definitely a great set of best practices that can be used. But also something else that's really important is the fact that for artificial intelligence, there will be a direct relationship between the different regulations that are being put in place and the international standards that are made available. So here what I'm saying, for instance, and here I give two different examples. So in Canada, we will have something, it's called the Artificial Intelligence and Data Act. So it's a little bit similar to the EU AI Act. And we are directly mentioning the relationship between the regulation and all the different norms. So there will be a link. So here, essentially what it's saying is that the act is going to define at a high level what needs to be done, but the AI, the international standards will provide the measures and the framework. Okay, and here in Europe, we also there is also the same type of provision, and I will not go in details because, for instance, Emilia will talk about the relationship with GTC 21 and Sensenelec, but there will be and there's, for instance, in the Commission implementing decision that you can see, there are different direct mention of international standardization and even ISO IC that are directly mentioned. So here, in other words, what I'm saying for small and medium businesses, why is ISO IC important? It's because, first of all, it's a great set of best practices, and secondly, it's because there will be a direct relationship with the regulation that are going to be that are put in place. So here, if we focus on ISO IC SC42, and sorry, there's a lot of jargon. It takes a while to understand, but so I will not necessarily focus on GTC1, SC42. It's just a subcommittee. So here we have it. So in ISO IC, it's super big. Like I said, it touches a lot of different topics. But here we're focusing on a committee on artificial intelligence. So this committee has been created in 2017. So here, just to remind everybody, we're in 2024. Some people have not necessarily heard of this subcommittee, but we are. It takes a while because it's an international effort. We're trying to deploy things for that can be applicable to any country and any type of AI systems. So for sure, it will take a while to be put in place and to be operational. But here, rest assured that a lot of work has been done already, and we're currently seeing a lot of progress. So here, just to give a little bit of information on this committee. So our scope is to focus on standardization in the area of artificial intelligence. And we already have published 30 standards. There's more than 30, there's even more standards that are currently under development. And it includes a standard, a management standard that is called ISO IC 42001 on the AI management standard systems. Okay. This one here, I will focus on it because I think it's really important. This is a standard that can be used for the certification of the AI management systems. So what does it mean, an AI management system, and what is 42001? So here, so if we're looking at the scope, so the AI management system standards specify the requirements and provide guidance for establishing, implementing, maintaining, and improving AI management system within the context of an organization. What does that mean? It means that in an organization, you might have 2, 3, 4, 100 AI systems in place, and you want to have guidance to establish, to implement AI systems. And then when they're implemented, you need to continue the work because you need to maintain and improve these AI systems. So it's how you it's the macro view. How can you make sure you are maintaining all your AI systems within your organization? Okay, so it's not at the micro level, it's at the macro level. You want to make sure that you have an organization that is able to manage, to implement and manage all of your AI systems. Okay. And also another sentence. It's about the management system standards. So here, I think it integrates best practices from other standards and management system standards. So other management system standards. Here, I can give you an example. It integrates with standards like ISO IC 27001 on security. Okay, so here you might have a couple of AI systems in your organization, or you have the desire of having AI systems, and you want to certify on this, but you also want to certify on cybersecurity, on security, and you have you can work. So it will be the same methodology, and it will be the same standard structure. So it's easier to certify to multiple standards at once. Okay. Also
Hi,
something else
Olivier.
that
Sorry, just to inform you, you have 2 minutes left. So if you can proceed
perfect.
to concluding, yes.
Excellent. Thank you. So here, just also to remind everybody, it's a risk-based approach. So so what we do here, and this is more robust. So it's about the risk. It's about reducing the risk of your organization. It's not necessarily about very clear standard. So it's about making sure that you are handling your risk well, and you have the ability to maintain this within your organization. So you understand what your risk, you understand the impact of your solutions, and you're able to manage it and mitigate these risks. Okay, so you can see, and you can see at the on the side, the structure. There's a lot of things that is captured, and it's not always easy to understand. Here I can just show you a graphic, and I'll go very quickly. I won't even define it, but just to show you how complex this can be to have this implemented in organization. So here it's about getting requirements, and then implementing this in with policies and controls. So here, what does it mean for AI system? And here, I just have a couple of questions. So a lot of people, because we started to interview companies, some people they're asking very basic question, and that's fine, that's okay. But what is an AI system? What's the difference between is ChatGPT an AI system? Is a spam filter an AI system? Is a dashboard an AI system? These are legitimate questions that we need to ask ourselves. What's ISO-IC? What do I need to certify a management system? Some people they're just they look at 42001 and then they assume that it's all about certification, and certification is costly. So do I need to do this? How can I use efficiently this product that I talked to you about for best practices to be better in my business? And what type of skill do I need? So a lot of questions that are very legitimate that are still asked by people. And this is why here we're currently working on a practical handbook for SME, and I'll close on this. So what we want to do essentially, and we started to define this, and you'll get a little bit more information later as it gets available, but it's a practical guide for small, medium enterprise. The goal is, at the end of the day, it's to offer guidance on for SMEs on how to implement 42001 best practices efficiently. Okay, so here this is information that we will provide in the future. So please feel free to ask any question during the panel, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Olivier, and also for the presentation and for raising, these initial questions that maybe we can touch upon in the panel, as you said. Before going that, I will now pass the floor to the next speaker, Rania Wazir from Leewand, for her presentation, and then we'll move on and see if we have any questions in the chat. Just a reminder for participants, use the chat or the Q&A box if you have any comments for our speakers. Thank you very much. So I think, Olivier, you have to stop sharing the screen. Okay, great. And okay.
Great, thank you very much. I hope everybody can hear me.
Yes.
And I hope you can all see my slides.
Yes, we can.
Great. So thank you for inviting me to this workshop. And it's a great and very timely topic. And I'm also very grateful to Olivier because he has set the scene and already said a lot of things about standards, which means I don't need to. So let me just give you a quick background so you know who's talking to you. And I also think I nicely compliment Olivier because I actually did this the other way around. I started in standards first, and then I started my startup. And my startup is focused on things related to trustworthy AI. So we work in fields of consulting and also product development and research, all of it towards helping companies make sure that their products are trustworthy. And basically, for me, the whole question, the reason why I got involved in standards, the reason why I got involved actually in the startup was looking from the point of view of what we now call an AI subject. So somebody, and we are all AI subjects, right? So AI systems are now in very many different parts of our lives. And my question was, well, how do I know that this thing is working and it's working well for me? And how and also from my mathematical point of view, you have to understand, I was delighted that, hey, people are using math and data to support their decisions. But then the question was, well, is it being used correctly, and is it actually going to help us rather than harm us? So this is sort of the background that I'm coming from, and what I wanted to talk is about the AI Act, which is sort of a new and groundbreaking regulation, and the particular challenges it poses for SMEs. And so I will bring this not just from our own point of view. We are a very small enterprise, but we work a lot together with other partners, be it in research projects or in consulting. And we see that the AI Act, while it is really a welcome step, actually poses some challenges which are particular for smaller enterprises. So let's take a look at some of these questions. First of all, the regulation is high level. Now, this makes sense. It's a regulation that's made by lawmakers. They cannot get into the technical nitty-gritty of it, but fundamentally, if you are a small enterprise, high level leaves you with too much unclarity. You don't know what you have to do, what you don't have to do. And one of the first questions people are always asking, well, is this about my product? Do I even fall into this regulation, and do I have to follow the requirements that are put in here? And from my point of view, if we could get to the point where it's actually very simple to follow the requirements and very easy to implement them, then this question falls away. Everybody will want to satisfy the requirements of the regulation, whether they are really high risk or not. And remember, I still have always the hat of the AI subject on. So for me, that's a win-win situation. And so the next challenge, if I do fall into the high risk category, or I even decide voluntarily that I want my product to be trustworthy, well, what exactly do I need to do? And the AI Act leaves us with one more challenge if we're going to ask this question, which is that it has an oversimplified view of the AI value chain. So that there are really only either providers or deployers. And if you're an SME, you are very often somewhere in the middle. You're an integrator. You take somebody else's product, adapt it, and then put it on the market. But according to the AI Act, that makes you the provider of everything. And so this puts you sort of in an uncomfortable situation where you are forced to rely on somebody else's work, and it's not clear what you can require of them in order for you to satisfy the requirements. So this is sort of a very quick, very brief overview of challenges that either we see for ourselves in our developments, or that we see in partner companies that fall into the SME category. And really, what this translates into is we really need clear, simple, and effective requirements and processes and tools that SMEs can follow in order to make sure that they are being compliant with the AI Act, and even in sort of a broader, more general goal, in order to make sure that their systems really work well and work well for all of us. So I've posed some questions, I've posed some challenges, and I would like to take a look what are possible answers and how how can we go about addressing these challenges? And in order to do this, I'd like to, again, ask a few questions, just to bring things down to earth and make everything seem more approachable, and it's not all new. So the first thing is people in industries that already have stringent requirements and regulations already have in place quality control processes. So what the AI Act is bringing is not necessarily completely new. It is just an addition to cover the AI aspects of it. The second question, well, most people who are developing any kind of product, or people who are deciding to use a product or not, generally already have to think about, what are my requirements? What exactly is this system supposed to do if I integrate it into my processes? Or what is this system supposed to do? Which pain points is it supposed to address if I'm trying to develop the product? And what's being asked here is to go a little bit beyond technical requirements and address values as well. So admittedly, the AI Act is bringing in something new here, because when we talk about risks and requirements, we're not only talking about health, safety, but the AI Act has brought in the issue of fundamental rights. So we take what we already know, which is, how do we figure out what the requirements are? And we have to add a new layer. What are the values? In the EU case, what are the fundamental rights that I need to address, and that I need to make sure that they are being sustained? And both of these sort of two pillars, you can combine them and just think instead, what is the novelty that's being introduced by the use of AI? Do I really have to do everything from scratch, or can I build on existing knowledge that I already have and just add that little extra, which will adapt it to the AI needs? And in order to address sort of the AI novelty, this is my view of what the standards are for. So the standards, and we have some in development, will help us address issues like communication and transparency. How do I document and make people aware of what this system does, what its possible impact is, and communicate this both internally within my company and then externally to clients or possible other stakeholders. The other issue is testing. Going beyond testing of a normal software product, going beyond testing of a regular manufacturing product, what is special about testing AI? And do I have to break this down into different types of technologies? Do I need to address the specificities of the particular context in which I'm applying the AI system? And we have standards which are being developed to address also this issue. The next point is to look at AI systems holistically. So we're not looking at only one particular stage of the AI system lifecycle. We're not looking only at development or only at deployment, but we consider the full lifecycle view. And understanding what that is and what that entails, again, is something that is being handled in standards. And the final question is, well, which responsibilities and competences do I need within my company in order to properly develop the system, to make sure it's compliant, to properly use the system, and ensure its safe operation. So again, here, there are some standards which are being developed to support and provide answers to these questions. While admittedly, at least from my point of view, this is probably the one point which still needs some work. And so what are these standards, and how can they help us in answering some of the questions and proceeding on the road to compliance and to trustworthy AI systems? So here I want to talk about something which is very particularly European. So I'm not going to focus more on what is happening within CENELEC JTC 21, which is the committee in charge of developing standards for AI systems. And in particular, being a European standards organization, it falls under something called the new legislative framework. I'm not a lawyer, so for me, the most important thing to understand about the NLF is that it provides for an instrument called harmonized standards. And with harmonized standards comes something called presumption of conformity. What this means is, if you as a company can show that you are compliant with a harmonized standard, then you are presumed to be in conformity with the corresponding AI Act requirements. So harmonized standards are harmonized, and they actually are required to have an annex showing exactly which articles of the AI Act, in this case, they provide presumption of conformity to. And if you show that you comply with those standards, then you have sort of the legal presumption of conformity that you are that you automatically then comply with the corresponding AI Act requirements. So this is an instrument that has been put in place by the EU to make it easier to comply with high-level regulations. And hand in hand with the harmonized standards comes a so-called standardization request. This is issued by the European Commission. It has been accepted by JTC 21, and this means that JTC 21 is now working on providing a body of standards which can be harmonized and can then be used by companies to be certified as compliant with the standard, and then take advantage of the presumption of conformity. Now, the standardization request actually covers 10 different items. These items range from things like quality management systems, risk management systems, data and quality and data governance for data sets, transparency, accuracy, robustness, human oversight, and I'm going to forget something, I'm sure. Beyond human oversight, we also have cybersecurity, and there are two more, one related to logging and keeping track of information during the system lifecycle. And I do believe I've forgotten a ninth one, But I've included a link here. The slides can be shared, and you can look up all 10 if you're interested. And the way the European Standardization Organization approach the standardization request has been following a principle called international first. So looking towards ISO, IEC standards that can be used to help support the standardization request, and then sort of homegrown development of standards to fill in the gaps that are really specific to the AI Act, and that need to be produced within the timeline, which is very stringent. And here I would just like to add that the timeline requirements that come with the EU AI Act are a little bit unusual for standards work. So it does require a much faster action than a lot of standards work is used to. And so sometimes simply a matter of timeline is a reason to develop a homegrown standard rather than pushing it out into ISO, IEC, and doing a sort of parallel developments working together. And here I think I will wrap up. Is this the end, Maria, or?
Yes.
Okay, so then I will leave it to particular questions if you want to ask about specific standards that are being developed. And I just thank you for listening, and wish you everyone a very interesting follow-up discussion.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rania. So we see some questions already in the Q&A box, and I see Isabel and Farshid have provided preliminary answers, but then we can pick them up later in the panel. Before going to that part, let me welcome Emilia Tantar, who's joined us now. So she can now proceed with her presentation. Hello, Emilia.
Thank you so much for the invite. I'm joining from Brussels, where we are actually working on the SENSELEC Joint Working Group 21 in Working Group 2 and the Synchronization Working Group 4 and Working Group 5, and the European Commission. So we have really intense discussion. Apologies for joining a little bit late. Would you like me to share the slides, or would you prefer that you share it?
Yes, if you can share them, I think it's best.
Perfect. So I will just share some operational aspects related with, let me put it on full screen, and we're good to go, I think. Let me know when you see it on full screen.
We see it now.
Perfect. So I'm Emilia Tantar. I'm the convener of the Working Group 2 operational aspect in SENSELEC Joint Technical Committee 21. I'm also the president and the head of delegation of Luxembourg National Mirror Committee on Artificial Intelligence, and I'm representing Small Business Standards, which is an entity covering more than 40 million small and medium enterprises in Europe. What I would share is, of course, a public document, and I will provide a high-level view on standardization on the EU AI legislative framework. And I'm compiling a number of normative documents and articles on artificial intelligence with a main focus on the societal and business-related implications. The presentation is intended for dissemination within the limits of the HSBooster seminar participants only, and where applicable, public domain external materials are credited and links are provided to allow referring to the respective originating work. Without further ado, we have, and Rania explained that we have the European AI upcoming regulation, which is a risk-based approach. And we need to transpose that in practice. I would not go into the details of the different classes of risk. The pyramid view. We have unacceptable risk, high risk, limited risk, and minimal risk. Where we support, and of course standards, they are not mandatory, and they are a technical specification in support of legislative frameworks. For unacceptable risk, we can provide clarity, for example, for applications which are prohibited, to identify when these applications occur, the manipulation of behavior causing harm, mass surveillance, social scoring. where we provide the entry to market, and it is for high-risk AI systems, as according to the regulation, there needs to be an ex-ante conformity assessment before putting that product on the market for applications including access to employment, education, public services, safety components of vehicles, and not only, and law enforcement applications, specific applications. Of course, the standards, they can be used also for limited risk and minimal risk applications. They are not mandatory. Here you have the where the figures and the perspectives were taken, so you can follow up on these links and have more details on that. Going a little bit further on the EU AI policy and how standards they support the legislation. For example, the EU AI Act, it is a horizontal legal framework, and it is aimed to be published, as we understood from the European Commission, on the 12th of July, which is quite soon, let's say. As any horizontal legal framework, it can reference standards. According to the Regulation 1025 from 2012, which is now being revised, the standards, they are requested from European standardization organizations. As you see here for artificial intelligence, and I think Rania already covered that, CEN and CELEC have a joint technical committee, which is Joint Technical Committee 21, which received a standardization request. And I will show how they collaborate with international standards, because also the work done in international standards can be used. So how this affects the market in practice. For example, now when you have a product which has a CE marking, this is one of the paths, you will need to pass through a certification process. And the certification involves, of course, it can involve also testing. And for that, you have a testing certification authority by domain, which will use a legislative framework, in this case, the UEA Act, and can use also prior other frameworks like the Data Act, the Digital Services Act, and General Data Protection Regulation, because we have data and many of those can apply in Cybersecurity Act. And standards, they just ensure this additional layer, just a moment because I can't see. The European standards, they ensure that we have technical specification to support certification, for example, and testing. Conformity assessment in general is a larger term, but for example, this is one of the paths in order to reach CE marking. Going a little bit further on, and I'll try to be brief just to remain on time. What is the difference between the legislative framework and the standards? The standards are voluntary. The legislation is mandatory. The standards are based on consensus. The legislation is imposed by the law. The standards are developed by independent organizations, and the laws are established by public authorities. Normally, this is the way it goes usually, we revise the standards every 5 years. It can happen as it was the case for definitions for ISO IEC 22989. It can happen even earlier if needed, for example, to include notions like general purpose AI and foundational models, which were not included previously. The legislation is revised when legislators decide. The standards, they provide specifications and test methods, interoperability, safety, quality. The legislation sets the requirement to protect the public interest. So here we provide specifications and methods that support what is considered as a requirement to protect public interest. So in the European context, this is empowered by the European Publication Office, of course. We have the regulation 1025 from 2012, and there is a regulation 2022 from 2480, amending the previous regulation, and there is still ongoing work. Just to cite from the existing regulation, and here you have the reference to the legal text, the European standards are adopted by the European standardization organizations, namely CEN, CENELEC, and ETSI, this is Article 4. And then we have the recital 5, which says that European standards, they play an important role to build through the usage, as Rania mentioned, of harmonized standards, the presumption of conformity for products, for example. But we do not work in isolation. The standardization organizations, of course, we start at national level. So I give the example as I'm representing the Luxembourgish national body. I'll give the example for us, it is ILNAS. Standardization in general is ILNAS, at European level is CEN, and at international level is ISO. CEN and ISO, they have a Vienna agreement. In electrotechnical standardization, again, at our national level is ILNAS. So you need to contact your national body if you'd like to engage in standardization. And then you express your interest and the expertise that you bring in order to engage with the process. So for electrotechnical standardization, for example, at European level is CENELEC. CENELEC has a Frankfurt Agreement with the international level, which is the IEC. At the international level, we have the ISO-IEC Joint Technical Committee 1, Subcommittee 42 for artificial intelligence. So what you would see here, CENELEC Joint Technical Committee 21 collaborates with ISO-IEC Joint Technical Committee 1, Subcommittee 42. For telecommunications, we have at the European level ETSI, and at the international level ITU. There exist other standardization organizations. They are not the only one, but as you saw in the legal text, CENELEC and ETSI, they are the ones recognized to write European standards which can be harmonized and can support the legal text. The mandate for that we received from the European Commission, it was sent only to CENELEC and Joint Technical Committee 21. But the CENELEC Joint Technical Committee 21 collaborates with ETSI. You have here the source of this document, which is the base of the standardization request, which is a public document. And you see here there are 10 requirements. I think Rania already mentioned this, so I will just pass through it once so that we understand this is nothing new. In order to have access to the European single market, we need to pass for conformity assessment. It can be a self-assessment, it can be second-party assessment or third-party assessment if we are a high-risk application subject to regulation. How the conformity assessment is done traditionally, it is based on risk, a risk management component, and the quality management system, which is the quality management component. And this includes also post-market monitoring. After we have the product on the market, especially as AI is a continuously learning process, that will need post-market analysis. Then we have the link with the existing regulation, which is the Data Act and the data-related regulation, for example, General Data Protection Regulation, the Digital Services Act, and so on. We have governance and quality of data sets. So this is data quality and governance. Then we have the link with the cybersecurity existing regulation, cybersecurity specifications for AI systems. These are requirements which come from previous existing regulation. So this is not new, but it makes a coherence between what we are developing and what exists already, the legacy, let's say. Then we have some new requirements, like the record keeping for logging capabilities by AI systems. This was previously mentioned also the record keeping for the General Data Protection Regulation, but now we need to go more in depth specifically for the capabilities of the AI systems. What is new for artificial intelligence as approximation methods are the layers of trustworthiness. Our regulation is a risk-based approach, and it is based on trustworthiness. Trustworthiness is the overarching layer. How do we transpose from the ALTAI, from the high-level expert group, to the regulation? We take 4 requirements that we consider that need to be checked for consistency. And these are transparency, human oversight, accuracy, and robustness. This is the transposition of the term of trustworthiness in technical specification. So this is what we are working currently. In the working group 2, which is handling operational aspects, we are now meeting in Brussels. And I invite you to join if you have development in these areas. We are focusing on conformity assessment. We have produced a technical report, and we analyzed that for the last 2 years and more. What are the challenges of applying conformity assessment for AI systems when the legislation comes into place? And now we have work on the ballot, so we can discuss about that. But we have the risk management that we are discussing today, for example, risk management system, including a risk catalog, that is ongoing work. If you have results that are coming from your European projects that reflect on these dimensions, I do invite you to engage. Of course, first, national body, if you need support, don't hesitate to contact me, and also your national body. If you need guidance, of course, we'll be more than happy to support. So what we are focusing in terms of operational aspects is conformity, risk, and quality. But we have other working groups which cover the aspects related with the trustworthiness. And here we have really a privilege to have Rania here, which is covering transparency, not only at the European level, but also at the international level, and many other aspects which are really relevant. And we have, of course, the record keeping and governance, data governance, quality and governance, which are covered in cybersecurity in other groups. For example, if you'd like to engage with GCC 21, cybersecurity is covered in working group 5, and the requirements from 3 to 7, they are covered in working group 4, foundational aspects, foundational aspects of AI. Then going a little bit further, I will try to be brief. The working group that I'm leading as convener, of course, it's a team work together with the other members of management. The co-convener is Aska Kern from the British National Body, and the secretariat is ensured by Stephanie Lavie from BSI, also from UK. We have established the working group 2, responsible for development and adoption of standards for AI and related data, as well as to provide guidance for technical committee in respect to the operational aspect of standardization, artificial intelligence, and we focus how to reach conformity with the regulation. So conformity assessment, it was historically our main topic. Now we added 2 main aspects, which are risk management and quality management. We give recommendation, we draft supporting elements regarding the adoption of relevant international standards. We do not work on isolation. We have our European specificity, but we do not duplicate also work which is happening in the international level. We need to adapt it sometimes as to reflect our European values and our European principles, but we do not work on isolation. We try not to duplicate work. In terms of the European vision, for example, for the conformity assessment, we are using the European accreditation standardization system. There is a classification of evaluation methods in the level structure. What are the requirements for accreditation bodies? What are the requirements for conformity assessment bodies? And what are the requirements for producers which provide AI systems to the market? So this is a more detailed view. Further consideration on the conformity assessment, the object of conformity assessment can be categorized in 3 categories. Either you assess a product, service, process, or system. Either you assess a person which can become an internal auditor or an auditor. Either you assess a management system, a body, or an organization, so you assess the organization as a whole. In the first category, you assess one product or service which goes to the market. The conformity assessment can be done through self-assessment, the manufacturer or the organization that provides an object. Second party is the user or the purchaser. And the third party is an independent auditor. So I will not stay too much on that. The key takeaways, from my perspective, of course, is that the standards, they provide a technical specification to EU AI upcoming regulation. The usage of standards reduces compliance costs. And what I would advise everyone, be wise and standardize the results that you'd like to have an impact on the market. That's all on my side. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Emilia, also for being on time while providing very detailed information. Then I will leave the floor to the last presenter and before moving to the panel discussion. So I welcome on stage Cedric. Ask Cedric to share the slides.
I'm sharing the slides. Good morning to everyone. Yes. Perfect. Do you see the slides?
Yes.
Perfect. So I'm going to give you a testimony of what we have accomplished with the help of HSBooster this year. I'm the coordinator of the Kinetics project. And as you will see during the presentation, I will also speak about the connections between another European project, which is Safe for SOC, and how we are working at the interface between those 2 projects on standardization initiative. The Kinetics project is a European project funded by under the Horizon Europe program. And it started, let's say, 18 months ago. Sorry. So I'm going to give you some context about the project, especially what's targeted within the project and the legal and standardization aspect that has been raised in the project to show you how we get to the idea to contact HSBooster and what kind of results we got from the interaction with the HSBooster program. So the general context of the Kinetics project is that we are the interface between artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. Nowadays, as everybody knows, the impact of artificial intelligence on products and services is very high, with many impacts on our everyday lives. It's profoundly modifying the products and the systems. And it's also some flow. Artificial intelligence represents some flow in the systems that we are somehow introducing. It gives some opportunities for the attacker, and it also opens some new ways of defense, of defending systems. What we are seeing at the interface between physical and cyber world using artificial intelligence is that we have some kind of convergence between the cyber and the physical world. Because nowadays we have some impacts on the cyber world that which can have critical impacts on the physical world. For example, as you have seen recently, we have impacts from digital world in hospitals, in pipelines, gas pipelines, in many critical infrastructure. And conversely, we have nowadays artificial intelligence within the systems, and the decisions are taken based on inputs that come from the physical world. And so this is a new way of attacking systems, being able to disturb the input that is given to the artificial intelligence based on physical perturbation, and being able to disturb the decision which is taken from the AI side. Within the Kinetics project, the aim of our proposal was to protect the systems when we have different side of the problem involved. Let's say that we are considering systems with a physical surface, physical attack surface. We are considering systems in which cyber surface is present, in which artificial intelligence is used within the systems, and also when we have human flows and interaction between the humans and the system. So the Kinetics vision is that we have AI that is used everywhere, and it's a blessing for cybersecurity. It's also some danger for the cybersecurity side. And so we have to understand attacks, especially being able to reproduce some attacks, and being able to defend against the new attacks that are allowed with these new tools. To give you an idea of the kind of things that we are doing in Kinetics, just quickly, we have a set of use cases, and for example, in railways, we are in presence of critical infrastructure, and we have to ensure that the rail is constantly able to make the train run without any problem. What we are developing in CA is that we are using some physical measurements on the railways, and based on the interpretation of the signals, we are able to decide whether the rail is able to welcome the trains or not. So we are introducing some systems, and the different elements are local interpretation of the signals, then some inputs are gathered within the central server, and the decision is based on artificial intelligence to decide whether to stop or not the traffic on the train. on the railways. So this is combining some physical aspects, artificial intelligence, and as you know, in this context, artificial intelligence is just another IT asset which needs to be protected, and this is what we are doing within the Kinetics project. So just a few figures, and especially a few words about the partners. We are working with KU11 on the legal side, and at the initial steps of Kinetics, we were really focusing on the legal side. And then, based on some feedback from the European Commission, they were asking us to also consider not only legislation, but also standardization, and what kind of action can be done within the project to go towards standardization and not only being able to comply with the law. Because the law is very, let's say, large and wide in this field. For example, in some of the meeting that we had our colleague from KU11, which identified the set of articles and the set of directives that are applicable based on the various use cases that have been proposed within the Kinetics project. The conclusion was that we have a lot of different articles, different laws to be taken into account. This is done within the project by KU11, our partner. The legislator is very active with different initiatives that are currently underway, with a patchwork of cybersecurity and AI-related regulations. And based on the application domain, different specific laws that have to be also considered, for example, for critical infrastructure. So based on European Commission feedback, we were asked how to go beyond legislation, because it was quite well known within the project that the legal framework was quite understood and applied, but we wanted to go beyond the legislation. So we required the help of HSBooster with the following question. How can HSBooster help us identifying potential actions for the Kinetics project? Basically, we had some partner in the healthcare domain. We are in CEA in the railway domain, but we were not really able to identify really specific action. We were not able to identify the current working group working on specific standards. And so we required the HSBooster program to help us identifying the most highest priority actions that have to be taken. Basically, we requested HSBooster at the beginning of February 2024, and then it was really quick with a very helpful help from HSBooster. Within a month, we got an answer and an expert dedicated to the exchanging on the project with two main meetings, let's say. The first one to explain the problem, the project, and so on, and the second one at the end of March. Following those meetings, we had minutes and, of course, supporting documents that were very helpful for us. And at the end of the program, which was basically in April 2024, we had a set of recommendations that is not only the experts listening and just giving recommendation, but rather exchanging with us on the most important actions to be done, exchanging on the possibility, on the time involved to perform such actions. So we had, of course, different kind of results from the HSBooster program. The first one was about identifying the correct, the potential working group and initiatives at European and at international level that are relevant to our project. So those have been in the artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and data protection, and of course industrial process measurement, control, and automation. And at the international level, of course, current initiative under artificial intelligence and information security, cybersecurity, and privacy protection. I removed the name of the chairs of the working group, but the experts also had the very specific contact point of contact to be contacted to get into those working group. Especially the experts had a look at the participants on the working group and identify that within my organization, within CEA, we had some people working on those initiatives, and so we got in touch with those people internally, and it happened that they are really close from us. So the expert helps make some connection between us and our colleague very close in CEA. The second results also was to learn some specification, let's say technical action on possible standards. And we were involved in another project which is called Safe for SOC, also funded by the European Commission. The goal of Safe for SOC is to try to push the standardization of an exchange format for, let's say, standard alert format exchange for security operating center. So this is in the cybersecurity world, but the specific thing about the IDMEF v2 format is that it can address cyber events, it can address physical events, and can address availability issues in systems. And so we try to make the connection between those two projects, trying to apply what is done within Safe for SOC in terms of standardization of the detection, and try to apply the methodology to what we are doing within kinetics. And so we are trying to make connection between use cases on railways in kinetics with the standardization action in Safe for SOC. Basically, and I won't go into detail of this slide, but the result is that we are going to use this format and use the global environment offered by Safe for SOC to work on specific use cases within kinetics, and consequently being able to not only have a use case and the demonstrator, but having some steps into the standardization process of what can be done in this use case. I don't know exactly where I am within the time. If it's
we should go to the conclusions, Cedric. Thanks.
So it was the last slide, so I'm okay.
Perfect then. Thank you. Now I pass the floor to Isabel for the moderation of the Q&A with the speakers. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank Maria. Thank you to all our presenters today for their excellent and valuable contributions. As you know, this is the third webinar of the series promoted by HSBooster. So I will also advise our attendees to check for the recordings and additional information they will find on the HSBooster website. Our presenters today have provided us with a lot of things to consider and to discuss. So my idea for the next minutes is to tackle the questions that our participants online have already addressed us, So the questions from the audience, we have one question, both from the two participants, Somaya and Otávio, that is concerned with the way the technical committees are working in parallel, both in ISO and SENS-ENELEC. And the question is how do they avoid that they are not duplicating efforts and work, and also if there is any division of labor in terms of the types of standards being developed or under review in both technical committees, and if there is a reason why these two committees are not integrated. So we also have shared online some information with the participants, and one of the topics is that we have in fact the Vienna Agreement that tries to settle the scene to avoid duplication. But if you agree, we could have a brief discussion on this issue, as we have here participants and presenters on both technical committees. So who could take the floor? Rania, can I start with you?
Sure, thanks. Can you hear me? Because I'm hearing an echo. Okay, as long as it's only me. So the two committees actually have long established procedures for working together. Isabel already pointed out there's the Vienna Agreement, which is how ISO and SEN work together, and then there's the Frankfurt Agreement, which is how IEC and SENELEC work together. And basically, SENELEC, before they start a project, they have this principle of international first, which means looking towards ISO, IEC, seeing if there are already existing standards or standards projects that might cover their needs. And only when they have established that is not the case, will SENELEC produce its own project. There are also well-established ways of working together. So we have things called parallel development. Parallel development tends to happen if it's coming from SENELEC. A lot of times it happens with ISO lead. And actually we have many projects which are being developed this way, also in support of the AI Act. And I happen to be the editor of two such projects. So the ISO IEC project on transparency was started in ISO IEC and was then adopted for parallel development by SENELEC. And reversely, there is a project on accuracy for NLP systems, which was sort of incubated in SENELEC and then moved to become a parallel development project with ISO lead. So yeah, the two committees are very much aware of each other, and they exchange a lot, and they very much try not to duplicate work.
Thanks, Rania. Any other comment from the presenters today? Olivia?
Yes, I do have a comment here. Just to so as a Canadian, I can testify to what Rania just said. So we are, for instance, we are part of plenaries, and because we have an observer status, so we have the ability to be there to comment, and we so not only are we aware, but we're also offering help. So it still remains. So the body of work that is built by SENELEC, it still remain a European product, but there are different options. Sometimes it goes like Rania said to SC42 for international work with international impact. And sometimes it stays in SENELEC, but still with observer status. For instance, we have Australia is there, Japan is there, Canada is there as observers, and we can support them. So we're all aware. So we're aware of what's happening, and also I really like the fact that the European expert can decide what should go where, and international expert can also have a word in this. So it's very it's very inclusive, the process.
Okay, thank you very much. So as an additional observation, I also wanted to share with Somaya, because she asked about why not to integrate these two technical committees, that in Europe we also have the relevance of the possibility from the European Commission to issue a standardization request for Sensenelec, and that's exactly what is happening also for the AI, for the implementation of the AI Act. So in some cases, it's important also to be aware of the relevance of the technical committee as a way to complement regulation, or to be consistent with an European approach to implement a transformative change, as this is the case with the AI Act implementation. Another question I had is more related to the SMEs challenges, and how we can in some way support SMEs navigating the complex landscape of AI standardization. As Emilia, Rania, and also Olivier have just demonstrated, we have a lot of standards already published and many others under development. So what could be the main challenge that you could identify that SMEs are facing, and the main obstacles they are tackling to implement these standardization efforts, and new documents requiring compliance in such diverse topics as accountability, transparency, cybersecurity, and so on. So this question is also can also be answered by almost all the speakers today. So who would like to take the floor? Okay. No volunteers.
Right.
Okay.
I'll volunteer. So I guess I will add some points which I did not already mention. So in general, for an SME, it's very hard. You know, it's a small company. So who is going to be in charge of reading and understanding the documents? Who is going to do all the stuff that is required? So who's going to do all the testing? Who's going to provide all the documentation? This is a question not only of resources, but really also of money. You have to be able to pay the experts, whether they are in-house or external consultants, to help you get through the requirements, the standards, or whatever other documentation that is needed. And that is why my feeling is, you know, the simpler and clearer we can make our own standards, the better it is for SMEs who are trying to comply.
Thanks, Rania. I think you have indicated a very important topic, that is the resources problem SMEs face. But resources not only talking about money, as you have just said, but also capabilities and their internal organizational capabilities that could be in some way an obstacle to absorb all these new progresses in AI standardization. And my question now to Olivier is if in some way has been more directly connected with ISO 42001, is if he thinks that an AI management system is something that could be also adopted by SMEs, and how is considering this challenge?
Yes, this is a good question. So first of all, what I like with the 42001, and here I'm putting my SME hat. It's the fact that it's very hard to find information. Like I said, we have in SC42 we have 30 standards that have been published, 33 ongoing. Information is everywhere. But what I like with 42001, first of all, and I'm not necessarily talking about certification yet, but it's the fact that it's like a executive summary. Okay, if you go through the document, if you go through the controls, so they have very good annexes, you are able to see, okay, these are the best practices I need to put forward. And is it the full answer? The answer is no, because then you need to drill down, and like an executive summary, if you want something that's really comprehensive and really detailed, then you need to read the whole book. And this is essentially what's required. And I like Ranya's answer. Then you need the resource. But here, if you have very limited resource, what I like is the fact that you can refer to this type of document that is super macro and gives you the high level view on this. Then it's also a tool that enables you to certify as well. If you want to do it, because you don't have to, you can use it and say, you know what, I want to kick off my AI systems, or I want to start my AI journey. How should I go about putting together a strong and responsible AI organization? Okay, let's take this. Let's understand what's required from me, and what are the best practices? What are the best control to put in place? That's what I'll integrate. So that is, I think, a very good way of doing this. Does it solve everything? The answer is no. I found, for instance, a question saying, you know what, I'm in healthcare. What's the relationship between healthcare and certification like 42001? And the answer is, it needs to work in conjunction. It's also a complex document. So there are some fallback to this type of document. But what I like is the fact that a startup, an SME, can have a good understanding of what's required of it. And then I forgot I'm not sure if I answered the question. I was just in the moment.
Thanks a lot. Okay, so we are approaching the end of our webinar, but we still have a quick question from Otavio. I think it's more directed to Cedric about cybersecurity challenges. How can SMEs prepare themselves to face the progress and the advancements of AI technologies? So if you could quickly react on that, and also if you have an additional comment, as we are now ending the webinar, it will be most welcome. Thank you, Cedric.
Yes, the question of cybersecurity is very difficult to address for SMEs. What we are seeing in France is many difficulties. The first one is knowledge of risks, knowledge of regulation, knowledge of being able to understand the regulation and also the standards. In France, ANSSI is really working hard on what can be done on the SME side with the new standard and regulation. Basically, what difficulty is first that cybersecurity is never the first topic of SMEs because what they want to do is to make things work just work, and basically the impact of a cyber event in SMEs is underestimated usually. Second, the cyber security landscape is evolving quite quickly. We have all those topic on artificial intelligence, and being able to understand the risk associated with introduction of artificial intelligence in systems and products, especially built by SME, is very difficult. Usually, we say that basically the first approach is to go to the MITRE Atlas and being able to understand the landscape of the risk when we are introducing AI in systems. And then in France, we are trying to push for a risk assessment framework, especially pushed by ANSI, which is called EBIOS risk management. Basically, this is something which has been pushed for cybersecurity related topics, but we are saying to companies that it's also possible to address AI related risks with this same framework, being able to identify assets, most important assets, the impact and the risk, and being able to identify the most important measure based on their time and budget, of course. I will stop here.
Thank you very much. Farshid, you still have a poll on the way, I think. So I don't know, Maria and Farshid, if you want now to take the floor.
Yeah, actually, I think I can just put the link in the chat. Please have a look if it works. So what I suggest is I leave the link there, and maybe we send it also in an email to the participants, and we leave the questions open. I'm not sure if all the questions will stay open because we're not doing this live, but we'll see. So we can collect offline the answers, because otherwise we run out of time. What do you think, Farshid?
Yes, I think that's a good idea. Also, I replied briefly to Octavia with regards to sometimes there are services where SMEs can access to get help on cybersecurity. But I added to Cedric's point where it's possible that you choose tools that if we don't have the resources or capabilities, we choose tools that are cyber secure. So by choice of the tool itself, we then benefit from the cybersecurity. I know it's not, I mean, there is really no answer. Like, how can we stay in line with all the threats that are evolving? Well, we have to evolve with the threats. So we have to learn, and this is a time and resource dependent task. Yes, please, if you want to share the link, then we can, if people are able to spend 5 minutes in just looking at the questions and answer them, that's perfect.
Yes, I think it's working. So I activated the first one. I think we got a few more replies there, and I activated the second question as well. I think what I want to say as a final message to the audience is thank you, first of all, and also to the speakers. And second, that in order to wrap up and widespread all the key messages and insights that we got in this event, we will put final report online. Okay, thank you. So I think we can close and see you soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye bye.
Thank you.